Good morning and welcome to this Godot video tutorial. This is Mr. Morris and we're going to be getting started with Godot. In this video, students will learn the basics of using the Godot game engine. We'll start off by learning about the menus available to you. Then we will learn about the panels and the workspace, as well as the tools. Throughout the course of this video, you will be working with me, creating a scene, some files, as well as learning how to save scenes, and also adding a script to your scene. Let's get started. Starting off with the menus, you have the menus up here in the top left corner of your screen. There's the scene menu, which will allow you to create a new scene, open scenes, save your scene if you've already saved it before, save a new scene that you've just started, as well as quitting the program and closing it all together. The project menu will allow you to adjust your version control, export a game so that it can be played, or you can adjust the project settings, which we'll be getting into later videos. The debug will allow you to check for errors with your code, as well as make certain things visible in your scene panel, such as collision shapes, navigation, and paths. The editor will allow you to adjust the panels that are docked. You can change the layout, reset it to your default, or save a particular layout that works for you with your panels. You can also adjust the editor settings by using the editor settings option at the top of the menu. The help menu provides assistance in learning or figuring things out in Godot. They have a robust set of online documentation, as well as a very helpful forum and creative community that will assist you with your needs as well. Now, getting into the panels. By default, the panels that are open to you are the scene, the import, the workspace or main scene panel, the inspector, and the file system. Starting with the scene tree on the top left, you can create a scene, whether it's a 2D, 3D, UI scene, or another scene of your choosing. Let's go ahead and create a 2D scene by clicking on the 2D option here. Over here in the center is your scene window. This is your main workspace in the game. These purple lines here show the bounds of the camera. This yellow or orange cross in the top left corner is the pivot point. You can move the pivot point of the node by pressing the move tool, and then you can move it. We'll get into the tools a little bit later in the video. Everything that you put in your scene tree will appear here in your node. Let's go ahead and add an animated sprite. Go ahead and click on this plus sign to add a child node and type in the search bar animated. You'll see the animated sprite 2D option pop up and be highlighted. Once it's highlighted, go ahead and press create and it will be added to your scene. Don't worry for now about this yellow triangle, we'll get into that in later videos. For now, let's turn our attention to the right. On the right hand side is the inspector. The inspector houses different components for each node that's in your scene tree. So, the node for the animated sprite 2D has an animation component where you can add sprite frames, which would allow you to add in artwork or sprites that can be used and animated for characters. You can change the offset of the animated sprite using the offset component, as well as your basic transform components, which will allow you to adjust the position, rotation, and scale of the node in your scene tree. Some other items you can do is you can adjust the visibility as well as the order in which it appears on the screen by adjusting the Z index, but we'll get into those later in separate videos. Moving over here to the left hand bottom side has the file system. The file system will hold everything there is in your game. It'll hold the code, the scenes, all the artwork, the sound effects, the music, whatever you need for your game will be here. You can organize it by creating folders. Creating folders works like this. Starting with the resources folder, which is the parent folder for the Godot project, you can right click on it and you'll get a separate menu. At the top of this menu is create new. You can create a new folder, a new scene, a new script, resource, or text file. Let's go ahead and create a new folder. You'll now get a pop-up that asks you to name the folder. We'll name this folder Assets. Press OK. Now you'll see that the Assets folder appears as a child of the Resources folder. Remember, whatever folder you have highlighted is where the folder you create will be housed. So for example, if I wanted to create a characters folder and put it in my assets folder, I would need to click and make sure that the assets folder is highlighted. Then I can right click, go to create new folder, and then I can name this folder characters. You don't see anything at first, but if you look to the left of the assets folder, you'll see an arrow that shows that there's something inside of this folder. So let's double click on it. You'll now see that the characters folder is appearing as a child of the assets folder. If you make a mistake and create a folder in the wrong folder, you can simply just click and drag the folder up to where you need it. Once you have it where you need it, in this case the assets folder, you'll see a blue rectangle outline around the folder that you're trying to put it in. Simply let go of your mouse button and the folder will drop into the correct area. The next thing we're going to go over are the tools. The tools can be found right above your scene window. You have the select tool, which will allow you to select objects in your scene. You have the move tool, which will allow you to move nodes or objects in your scene to different areas. You have the rotate tool, which will allow you to rotate objects around its pivot point. You also have the scale tool, which will allow you to increase the size of an object. Right now you don't see anything happening because we don't have an sprite in our scene. We just have this empty animated sprite node. However, if we look over here to our transform, we'll see that the scale has been adjusted for it. There are a wealth of other tools in the toolbar up top. I invite you to explore them and see what else they can do for you to assist you. The last thing that we will do is we're going to go over creating a piece of script. Let's first create a new folder in our assets. Simply right click, create new folder, and name it scripts. Now, with the Node 2D selected, let's just create a code on it. Up above the Node 2D, there is this little piece of paper with a plus sign. It will allow you to attach a new or existing script to the node that's selected. Let's press on it. You'll now get this window. You'll be able to tell what coding language it's going to be coded in, where it inherits from, so what node it inherits from, and if there's any templates associated with that node. Okay? The next thing you can do, and what we will do, is change the path. Right now, the script is being set to be saved in our resources folder. We want to change that to our scripts folder. So click on the folder next to path. In this window, you'll be able to navigate to your scripts folder. Simply click on the assets folder and then the scripts folder, and then we can change the name for whatever we want it to be. In this case, I'm going to leave it as it is, since we won't be adding any code today. Simply just press open, and it changes the path. Next, you can press create. You'll see that the code now appears before you, and will allow this is where you will type in your code. If you need to go back to your scene view, up at the top, you can press 2D and return to your scene view. Now, let's save our scene. If you notice at the top, there's an asterisk here. That lets you know that there are changes that need to be saved to your scene. Simply click on the scene menu, go to save scene, and let's navigate into our scenes folder. Click on assets, and you'll notice we don't have a scenes folder. Let's create one. In this window on the top right, you can click on the plus sign and create a folder. We'll name it scenes. Press OK, and the folder will automatically open. Well, since there's nothing really going on with this and it's for the introduction video, we'll simply just leave the file name the same. Otherwise, you would normally want to name it according to what the scene is. If you're creating a player, you'll want to name it player. If you're creating a level, you'll want to name it with that level name. For example, level 1. Press save. Congratulations, you have now saved your scene. Thank you for joining us in this video tutorial, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.